In this video, I'm going to give you my evaluation of the best budget mock toe boots. Whether you want a boot for working in the backyard, doing actual work, or just spending time walking around the woods with your best friend, you can't beat a mock toe boot for comfort or appearance. Now, when I was a young teenager, more than 50 years ago, I rode motorcycles, and all of the guys I hung with and myself wore mock toe boots, not only for riding motorcycles, but to go to school. I even wore them to go to church. In recent years, they've become much more popular, and with that popularity has come greater expense. Now, the boots I'm going to evaluate here, I paid for all of them. None of them were sent to me for free to do promotion on them or anything. I'm going to compare them to some of the boots I already owned. And the first of those boots I'm comparing to is called an Eastland Timber Up. And these things are awful. They're made fairly well, but the thin leather, they have a lining in them. They're not really work boots as much as they are shoes. The eyelets are good, the finish is good. They run a little small, but the worst thing about them is they feel like a shoe without a heel on it. Like you feel like you're leaning over backwards. They only weigh 1 pound, 1 ounce. And like I say, all the time you wear them, you feel like you're about to rock over backwards. So this is the type of boot you don't want to buy as a budget boot if you can possibly avoid it. Now, the second boot I have for consideration is the Red Wing Irish Setter Ashby. When I got these boots, I had heard, oh, they conform to your feet, they're wonderful. And I thought they'd be sort of magic, like a lightweight running shoe that looked like a boot. They're not especially comfortable or uncomfortable. They're simply well made. Everything is done right. You can feel that they're substantial. You just sense when you put them on. Now, these boots are going to last for the duration. I want to talk about mock toes for a minute. And an actual mock toe has a two-piece toe box construction. The sides of the toe box and the top of the toe box are two pieces. Now, the Red Wing Ashby is constructed that way. You can pull up the edge of it and you can clearly see that the top piece is stitched to the side, that it's two separate pieces of leather. Most of the mock toe boots being made today are not made this way. They're a single sheet of leather that they sew a stitching on to make it look like a mock toe. It's one piece of leather stretched over a lace that makes it look that way. The actual mock toe gives you more room for your toes in the front of the boot and results in a shorter boot, which kind of negates the clown look effect if you're skinny and have big feet. The Ashbys weigh about 1 pound, 8 ounces, and like I said, these are the boots you'll use to reconstruct society after a nuclear war, because they're going to be there. My favorite boot of the past is this pair of Dickies boots I bought in the 90s and used almost every day for 15 years. They're a nubuck finish, which is horrendous. Every single time you brush up against anything, it tears the leather apart. But they fit perfectly the day I got them. Didn't need any break-in. The hardware on them, the eyes and the speed lugs, is horrendous. I had to replace the speed lugs on both shoes. The sole is worn away, so it's like walking on ice on grass. But they only weigh 1 pound, 6 ounces. The first of the new boots is this Wolverine 8-inch steel toe boot I got on a special deal I saw on eBay. It's a well-made boot. The hardware on it, the lugs and the speed lugs are well made, big washers behind to keep them from pulling out. The soles are very flexible. The boot fit perfectly. The first time I put it on, the leather is soft, feels like fairly good quality, and doesn't require any break-in. These were made in Guatemala, which I'll talk about later. The one disadvantage is these things weigh 2 pounds, 8 ounces each. And believe me, you notice the weight. Now, the next boot is called a Handem. This is a really well-made boot. The leather is not quite as good as a Red Wing, but man, this thing is well constructed, good hardware. It fits well. It's a dual section crepe sole with a hard lug sole on the outside of that. The inside is a double layer of leather reinforced with like a nylon. And it's really quite astonishing. It's an actual mock toe, which, as I said earlier, is rare. The lug toe makes them really good for walking on rough mountain areas. You have a lot of room for your toes. The strange thing is, these are sold under a variety of names. I got the pair you see here for $33 on eBay. You see them on Amazon as Handmen's or Rock Posters or Hard Rocks, and they're about $80. On eBay, they actually were trying to sell them as Handmen's for $186. Well, I thought about it. I said, I'll go with the $33. The one disadvantage these have is they weigh 2 pounds and 8 ounces each. It's like having those leg weights on all the time. I just couldn't deal with that weight on a day-to-day basis. So I got a set of Wolverine 6-inch in black oil finish, and they are extremely comfortable. I love the way they look. I love the way they feel. There was one strange thing about them, though, compared to the Wolverine 8-inch steel toes I had, and that is they're bigger. They're 11Ms. The others were 11Ms, and these are bigger. They're looser on my foot. Not to the extent that I can't wear them, but it's just sort of bizarre. These were made in Bangladesh rather than Guatemala. So I don't know whether they used a different last or exactly what happened. I don't know. Their mock toe is a fake, but it's a good one. It has a lot of room for the toes in the toe of it, and it makes them very comfortable. I really like them, and other than the fact that you have this weird thing where they're bigger than the ones made in Guatemala, they're quite acceptable. They weigh about 2 pounds each, but you're not overtly conscious of the weight the way you are with the Handmen's or the Wolverine steel toe. Now, boots called Rhinos have gotten a lot of good reviews. These remind me a lot of the Dickies boots from the 90s. They fit perfectly the first time you put them on. They don't need any break-in. The leather is very soft. I'll tell you in a second why I have that fleece pad in there. The hardware leaves something to be desired. There's no rivet area on the back of the speed lugs or the eyes, and I'm guessing it's a good thing I saved the riveting set I bought 20 years ago to work on the the Dickies, because I don't see those holding up for very long. That's one criticism I have of these boots of three, is that the hardware is really kind of poor. The leather is really soft. It's heavily processed and just extremely comfortable. The soles are a little bit flexible, not as much as the Wolverine soles. But the boot is well constructed. It has leather reinforcement inside, a leather heel counter. The second criticism is that I decided to remove the insoles and put in gel insoles. The ones that come are really thin, and when I pulled it about as much as you can see here on the right boot, it disintegrated. And that's why I have the fleece pads in there. Don't count on the insoles lasting very long. Now, in order to get the upper leather as soft as it is, they do a lot of processing, and that weakens the leather. It makes it more comfortable, but it weakens it. And it also leaves it very susceptible to being nicked and scratched. I'd only had these a couple days, and I didn't really do any heavy work, and all of a sudden I looked at them and they're all scuffed up. And I don't know if there's any way to repair this kind of damage, but it certainly would give you pause wearing them to church at my age. They're fairly light, 1 pound 11 ounces. And like I say, they're extremely comfortable. I love the way they look. The only criticisms I have are the hardware, the scuffing, and the lugs. I got these boots on Walmart. Special sale at $46. They're steel toe, and they're an oil finish that is put on unprocessed leather, or lightly processed leather anyway. I also have a insert in there, which I'll tell you about in a second. But I love this kind of splotchy oil finish. It really looks like terribly serious. The lugs are really heavy duty. These are the same kind of lugs they use on the $500 boots. They're basically a rod that's been machined rather than a piece of sheet metal that's been stamped into shape. So they're going to hold up. The leather is very stiff and will need to be broken in. And one place where you're really going to notice that is in the tongue. It's unpadded and it's stiff, and you get a lace burn off of this that's not pleasant. I'm too old to wait for that to break in, so I'm going to be gluing those insoles into the back of the tongue. The sole is moderately flexible, about the same as the Rhinos, but not as soft as Wolverines. And I just love these boots. They're comfortable. They fit the first time I wore them. They weigh 1 pound 13 ounces, and they look pretty substantially made, and I'm looking forward to enjoying them. So we go back to the Handmen. That was selling for between $33 to $193. It's heavy. The Wolverine steel toe at $82 to $124 also weighs a ton, and you'll notice the weight on both of those. The Wolverine 6-inch is a joy, $99 to $124. I love them. I love the way the Rhinos look and feel. I had a couple issues with it, but I would not hesitate to recommend them. But maybe my favorite boot is these Herman Survivors that are only sold at Walmart, apparently. They're really constructed for real, and I love them. Those are my recommendations.